I believe that I just unlocked the truth about energy harvesting. I'm going to go through this thing with Grok, and I want to see how many of you can actually get ahead of me on this, and see if you can reach the conclusion coming towards the end of this video. So I was wondering, what is the etymology of energy harvesting in the spiritual context? The term energy harvesting in a spiritual, metaphysical, or esoteric context is a relatively modern phrase, primarily emerging in online spiritual communities, New Age adjacent discussions, conspiracy oriented content, and social media, especially TikTok, Reddit, Twitter, and Medium, roughly in the 2010s to early 2020s, with noticeable mainstream pickup around 2020 through 2025. Unlike ancient or classical esoteric concepts such as prana, ki, mana, or loosh, the specific wording energy harvesting borrows directly from engineering and technology, where energy harvesting refers to capturing ambient energy, solar, vibrational, thermal, to power devices. In spiritual usage, this technological metaphor has been repurposed to describe the extraction, collection, or feeding upon subtle spiritual energy, life force, emotional output, or loosh, from individuals or groups, usually in a predatory or parasitic sense. Key aspects of its usage and development. The core idea, it portrays human emotional / energetic output, especially fear, anger, ecstasy, sexual energy, or collective excitement, as a resource that can be deliberately gathered by others, people or energy vampires, entities, cults, archons, elites, or non-human forces to empower themselves, fuel agendas, or sustain metaphysical systems. Common context, interpersonal, toxic relationships, or energy vampires draining others, a concept predating the term, often linked to 1990s occult / LaVeyan descriptions. By the way, LaVeyan, as in Anton LaVey, Church of Satan, you're already getting the point of why you should never listen to people who talk about energy harvesting like it was some kind of real thing. It is real, just not in the real of of the sense that you think it is. Let's continue. Collective events, concerts, festivals, sports, politics, or social media outrage as mass rituals that generate and harvest energy, frequently tied to music industry conspiracy theories involving artists like Beyonce or Travis Scott. Darker esoteric, intentional extraction by dark practitioners, entities, or a simulated matrix farming human loosh, negative emotions as fuel. Influences and precursors. The underlying notion of parasitic energy feeding is old. Robert Monroe coined loosh in the 1970s through 1980s, emotional energy harvested by non-physical entities. Earlier occult traditions discussed psychic vampirism or astral feeding. Gnostic / archon ideas, revived in modern conspiracy literature, describe soul / energy exploitation. Energy vampire was common in 1990s occult circles, referenced in LaVey's works or neo-pagan / magic communities. The precise harvesting framing likely gained traction through the blending of conspiracy theories like matrix / simulation farming humans as batteries with new age energy work and online spiritual discourse. There's that term new age again, just like my last video on destiny swapping. Timeline clues. Earliest clear spiritual uses appear sporadically in the late 2000s / early 2010s in niche forums. Some 2010 Reddit threads on simulation theories mention negative energy harvesting during sleep. It became more widespread in the mid 2010s, through 2020s via TikTok rabbit holes. There's that social media again. Medium articles, podcasts, discussions of loose and spiritual warfare, and sites like Energetic Synthesis, which uses related terms like bio-spiritual harvesting and an NAA/Arcan context. By 2022 through 2025, it surged in popularity in conspiracy/spiritual TikTok, Reddit, r/spirituality, r/magic, and threads, often linked to celebrity rituals or elite agendas. In short, the etymology is metaphorical and contemporary, a 21st century internet age fusion of tech jargon with long standing esoteric ideas of energetic parasitism and louche farming. It lacks ancient roots under that exact phrasing, but draws from a deep lineage of spiritual concepts about subtle energy manipulation and predation. I said in response, how could negative emotions be used as fuel? Fuel for what? It sounds like something out of the movie Monsters, Inc. The idea that negative emotions, fear, anger, despair, hatred, trauma, could serve as a form of fuel comes primarily from modern esoteric, metaphysical, and conspiracy-oriented interpretations, most notably the concept of louche coined by out-of-body experience researcher Robert Monroe in his 1985 book, Far Journeys. In Monroe's account, based on alleged communications during astral projection / out-of-body experiences, or OBE, he described an encounter with non-physical light beings who portrayed Earth as a kind of cosmic garden or farm designed to produce louche, an emotional / life force energy emitted by all organic life, especially during intense experiences. The purest, most potent form was said to come from humans triggered by strong emotions. Positive emotions, especially love, were described as the highest quality louche, refined, nourishing, and even called louche/love in parts of his writing. Negative emotions, fear and predator prey struggles, loneliness, parental defense rage, suffering, conflict, or worship/devotion were portrayed as more intense or quote unquote tasty in certain contexts, releasing bursts of energy through trauma, pain, or adrenaline like states. The beings allegedly engineered predator prey dynamics, fangs, claws, speed, to prolong struggles and maximize output. Later interpreters in New Age Gnostic revival, Arcan / reptilian conspiracy circles, and online spiritual communities shifted the emphasis heavily toward the negative side, claiming that parasitic or fallen entities, archons, demons, reptilians, interdimensional beings, or dark elite / NAA, which is negative alien agenda in some sources, deliberately form negative louche because these entities are, quote, disconnected from source with a capital S, unable to generate their own high vibrational energy. Fear, pain, and low frequency emotions produce a denser, more harvestable energy like crude oil versus refined fuel that's easier to siphon and sustains their existence, agendas, or artificial realities / matrix. This fuels their survival, power, control systems, or even the maintenance of the simulated prison planet reality itself. Fuel for what? In these frameworks, negative emotional energy isn't literal gasoline, but a subtle metaphysical currency or sustenance. Sustenance / nourishment for non-physical entities like psychic vampires or archons who lack direct access to divine / creative source energy. Power maintenance for larger systems, sustaining reversal networks, black goo / miasma fields, artificial timelines, or the matrix illusion per Ascension glossary and similar sources. Amplification of control. I want you to actually highlight that for later. Mass fear via media war crises generates collective output, feeding hierarchies of entities or human proxies. Elites secret societies who engineer conditions to harvest in exchange for influence and power. In darker takes, it's tied to adrenochrome like ideas or ritual abuse where extreme suffering releases highly charged energy. The Monsters Inc. parallel says that I was spot on. The concepts echoes the film premise eerily, and you can go ahead and read that paragraph if you'd like. But they were having fun with that. So I scrolling down to the bottom here, I said there's nothing in the King James Bible about this. It makes no sense for any Bible teacher to ever cover this topic. It says there is nothing in the King James Bible, nothing in the King James Bible, nothing in the King James Bible or in the canonical scriptures accepted by mainstream Christianity, Protestant, Catholic, or Orthodox that directly describes or even hints at the modern esoteric concept of energy harvesting, louche negative emotions as fuel for parasitic entities, or humans being farmed like livestock in a cosmic energy system. The KJV uses terms like energy only in a few places. Colossians 1:29, whereunto I also labor, striving according to his working, which worketh in me mightily, referring to God's empowering strength in believers. But it's about divine enablement, not subtle energy extraction. Harvest appears frequently. Matthew 13's parables of wheat and tares, Revelation 14 end times reaping, but these are agricultural metaphors for judgment, salvation, the gathering of souls by gods and angels, or the end of the age, not predatory collection of emotional output by non-human beings. The idea you're referencing stems from non-canonical extra-biblical sources. Extra-biblical sources, as in adding to the word. So you can talk about things like the Nag Hammadi, which already is very questionable. So you can go ahead and look up these sources that I'm scrolling down. But what's happening here is that from a traditional biblical teaching perspective, mainstream teachers avoid or outright reject this topic because it lacks scriptural warrant. No verses support parasitic entities farming human fear/anger as sustenance. Number two, it overlaps occult, esoteric, New Age ideas that contradict core biblical teachings. God as sovereign creator, Satan/demons as tempters. It should say devils, by the way, because the term demon is not in the Bible. As tempters, but not cosmic farmers needing human energy to survive salvation through Christ alone. Number three, it can promote fear, paranoia, or dualistic Gnostic views, material world as inherently evil or / a prison rather than biblical hope, stewardship, and victory over evil through faith. The Bible warns against false doctrines, myths, or fables, and urges testing of the spirit / teachings. So instead, the KJV addresses negative emotions through practical, God-centered counsel. Controlling your anger. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. Overcoming fear. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Renewing the mind. Focusing on what is true, honest, just, and pure. So spiritual warfare against principalities / powers, but framed as resisting the devil through submission to God, armor of God and prayer, not evading energy vampires or breaking harvest cycles via special phrases. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the reading here. So I want you guys to actually think about this. When people say that they're teachers of truth, that they never lie, I want you to think this one over very carefully. Where does the term energy vampire come from? Where does the term energy harvesting come from? Because it's most definitely 100% not biblical. The idea of energy harvesting is completely satanic. All right, guys, you need to watch yourselves and double check the scriptures, because the focus here that I want you to really narrow in on is this last portion, right? So you can be controlling your anger and overcoming fear. You can renew your mind so that people like dread-headed, effeminate acting, false teachers who believe that 11-year-old girls or women, I'm not going to say any names, he's using this in order to, you guessed it, promote fear or paranoia so that he can take advantage of your attention to draw attention to his YouTube channel. So you can, and the thing is that it is overlapping light with darkness. All right, occult, esoteric, and new age ideas that contradict core biblical teachings, and they take a creative license to do this by calling you. By calling you out of your name first, and in hopes that you will simply submit to whatever it is they're saying. Unfortunately for them, that doesn't work on me. I always take time to listen, and then I'm going to be double checking the scriptures because I don't need these false teachers. Um, that I don't need their permission to double check the scriptures completely in context, not just one chapter. And all of this is fuel, but it's not like they're sucking away your energy and making you tired. All they're really doing is controlling you. All they're doing is using fear, and they're using crisis, they're using a mental health crisis in order to engineer the conditions necessary for you to keep on viewing their channels. That's all it's about. When you listen to people who believe in who talk about this stuff all the time, I'm thinking of two channels in particular. One channel focuses on celebrity gossip because being a biblical teacher failed. He tried to take advantage of the Black Hebrew Israelites. That didn't work. Then he tried to take advantage of Christians, even though he still talks down about Christianity. That didn't work for him. So then he decided to put on a Make America Great Again hat, and he was trying to siphon away money from that community, and that didn't work. So now he's mad. So he's going to keep on using things like shame and all these other terms for his sustenance and nourishment of his YouTube channel. It's not all that. If he can fuel your anger, if he can fuel if he can fuel you into doing things he wants you to do, that's when he makes money. And you could take an example for this by going into his posts, and when he says that he's going live or he's doing one thing or another, if you have not delivered him a like plus a comment, he's going to start shaming you by means of saying, why can't you leave a goddamn comment? And you know that he's a fake teacher as well, because a real repentant person wouldn't be cussing. I just want you to, and they wouldn't be using shame. But once again, this stuff goes back to the new age, and what this guy and what another guy who is part of a multi-level marketing scheme, what they're doing is they're using these terms in order to bring you in through the things that you're not talking about. The truth of the matter is that you're scared of these kinds of things. You're scared that somehow, some way, that you're going to have your energy nurtured, or garnished. And here's the problem. If you look at this box right here of positive versus negative, it actually contradicts itself. So the positive emotions, if you can produce love, then it can be harvested. If you produce negative emotions, it's going to be determined to be intense and tasty. But if it's going to be positive, it's the highest quality, but they actually lean on the negative side. Does that make any logical sense? No. I'm going to say it again. That makes no sense. So it's easier to farm negative because we're disconnected from the source. No, you're not. When you confess that Jesus Christ is Lord and you ask him to save you, you are connected to the source. And we have to be paying constant attention to this kind of thing. Why would beings of light, fallen angels, right? Why would they need humans to produce energy when they're already made of light? Does that make any sense? No. Absolutely not. It makes no sense. Why would they need to fuel some kind of prison when humans are already on Earth with no actual known sources of life outside of planet Earth? Does that make any sense? No. Why would entities more intelligent and powerful than us need our energy in order to make a simulation when they already have power that we don't have? Does that make any sense? When two-thirds of the angels rebelled against God, and I'm using just a number, I'm just using a number here for an example. If two-thirds of the angels, already beings of light, had already separated from God, how come they can't combine their own energy? Meaning they're already immortal. So why can't they just combine forces and make their own simulation? Yeah, right. So again, why would they need output from humans who are sinful? Does that make any sense? No. So once again, the things like I want to see if I can find it back in this list. Um, but when they're talking about things like Beyonce and Travis Scott, it's the reason why it's so-called harvesting your energy is because it draws your attention. Nothing more, nothing less. I'll say it again. That it draws in your attention. So whenever these people are doing these sorts of things, they know that it's going to get your attention. The costumes, the lighting, the stage setups, everything that they do is meant to draw in your attention. And the way that we can control this, the reason why you're not able to be governed if you know the Most High, it's not because you have some kind of advantage that no one else could ever gain. It's because you listen to the Bible's advice, the center of truth, which is for you to control your emotions better, for you to pray to God about things, and for you to use the Bible as your standard. Nothing more, nothing less. If you know how to control your emotions, if you know how to watch and double check the scriptures for your understanding, you can't fall for this stuff. So that's really all I have to say about this subject. I could go on and on, but I really like to just make videos more concise about this. You let me know what you guys think down below. I have nothing else to say about it. I've already said all I can say about it. I really was trying to find the reference to Travis Scott and Beyonce, but it's really lost on me to try to locate this. Here it is. So common context, collective events. So people's energy, so-called being harvested. Again, they only need your energy in the form of your money. They really don't need your energy for anything else. If you're sitting there like a zombie with no money, you're still useless to the to the music industry. And that's a fact, not an opinion. So anyway, that's all I have to say. See ya.